No one had a better start to their challenge career than Darrell. He won 4 championships in the first 4 seasons he played in. Darrell held the title as the winningest The Challenge competitor for years. And some players came close like Derek, Kenny, and Veronica, but Darrell held the record for 10 seasons or 6 years until Johnny Bananas tied him when he won Season 22 Battle of the X's. Darrell was relegated to second on the champions list in 2014 when Johnny Bananas won Season 25 Free Agents. Now, at the time of filming this video, Darrell has fallen further down the list behind both CT and Jordan, who surpassed him as recently as Season 40 Battle of the Eras. I want to look at why someone who is as strong both physically and mentally as Darrell has not been able to get another win in nearly 20 years, and I should say that it's more like 12 challenge seasons because he had some hiatuses in between. I also want to look at how close he has come to getting that ever elusive 5th win. After winning Fresh Meat, Darrell came back to the challenge after a 6-season, 3-year hiatus. I feel, on paper, this was the best season for Darrell to pop back into the challenge fold after an extended time away. I say that because the Ruins was a 2-team format, which historically Darrell thrived in that style of a game, as well as he was part of a stacked champions team. The problem with the Ruins is it was a toxic environment with drinks a-flowing. That is not a good combination. Like, for example, things got pretty heated early on when Darrell and Wes got into arguments when Wes tried to throw the first daily challenge.
He said he'd rather do it tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow?
He wanted to push the envelope, and I'm like, nah, let it go.
Now, moving past that, Darrell was having a great season, winning 6 daily challenges and 2 eliminations. The challengers team was helpless, and Darrell's 5th title had a nice ring to it along with all the cash in his individual bank account. That is until Brad went off the deep end. It was tough for Brad seeing the writing on the wall and coming to terms that he's losing another challenge season.
You're trying to figure out if you're supposed to just give up. I'm frustrated at this point.
So late in the game, he had one too many and went to antagonize the champions team. More specifically, he wanted to rile up Darrell. This is the definition of Brad messing around and finding out.
I feel terrible. I can't excuse my actions, and I really am truly sorry.
This was the first time Darrell was exiting a season before the final. It's interesting because Darrell foreshadowed something like this was possible back in Season 8 when Leah asked why Darrell didn't stand up to CT making comments about her in the elimination.
But I'm gonna jump in there, blah, 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 and I could only talk for so long. The next thing you know, I'm swinging.
Looking back, this one is tough because this was a clear, locked-in win for Darrell, and the opportunity slipped through his fingers. Now, Darrell took responsibility for his actions in this, but other people are culpable as well. Like, Brad could have kept his composure and not drank, and tried to do his best in the remainder of the game. Also, Darrell's champion squad could have done something to help him out, but to be honest, they didn't care about Darrell. They didn't see him as a team member, they looked at him as another slice of the pie gone. Darrell was on the next season looking for a bounce-back performance. The problem is that the dust-up between him and Wes carried over into Fresh Meat too. It was a motivating factor in helping get Darrell and Cara Maria into the first elimination. They ended up losing to Jillian and Pete. This was Darrell's earliest exit in his challenge career. He'd take another long hiatus away from the show, but would return for Season 29 Invasion of the Champions. In episode 5, Darrell along with other champions entered the game as the main twist. It was now a 2-team format, Darrell's specialty. The tough thing about this season is that to get to the final, the champions would have to win eliminations against each other. Darrell found himself in all 3 men's eliminations for the champions side. He dominated against Zach in the pole wrestle. He won against Bananas in Balls In. Darrell was looking very impressive and he was 1 win away from making another final. But CT's masterpiece of a knot got the best of Darrell. It was just 1 elimination, 1 champ too many. There's no doubt in my mind that if he made the final, he would have won this season outright. And truly, if you're Darrell reflecting back on Season 29, there's really not much else you could have done. At the end of the day, Darrell was going to be in the final elimination no matter what, going up against CT no matter what. And truly, when you boil it down, Darrell played a nearly flawless game. He just lost to the eventual winner of the season. In between flagship seasons, Darrell competed on the challenge spin-off Champs vs. Pros. He was looking like his old school self with performing well in the challenges, no elimination scene, and he was the first champion to punch his ticket to the final on the men's side. He did it. He made his first final since Fresh Meat, and not only that, but he and Car Maria ran it back and won, getting redemption for their showing on Fresh Meat 2.
Redemption, baby!
He had finally got his 5th win, except it's a technical win, you know? Because the Champs vs. series isn't looked at as real seasons of the show. Many fans cite that it's all for charity, smaller setup, and no one is really taking it seriously. I personally think it's unfair for the Champs vs. Pros to be lumped in with the Champs vs. Stars, like they were at least professional athletes and actual champions Darrell had to face off against. It's not like he was playing putt-putt eliminations against riffraff. So even though Darrell was labeled a challenge champion and raised over $55,000 for charity, he was still searching for that elusive 5th win. Darrell's small stint on Dirty 30, I feel, was a series of unfortunate events. The season started off with a sort of gauntlet where the last place finishing group would be subject to a purge. Darrell worked his tail off, but found himself in the worst performing team. Corey made the smart decision to send the only multi-champ available to be purged out of the game. Luckily, there was a Redemption House twist, but in episode 5, Darrell lost the redemption game against Tony by a foot. Again, I don't know what else you could have done if you're Darrell in this moment. It pretty much came down to a luck of the draw, and Darrell was just unlucky on this season. 6 seasons and 3 years later, Darrell was back for another The Challenge season. Double Agents was unique as the house was split into 2 warring alliances, and Darrell tried to place himself directly in the middle, and for a while it was working. It seemed like he was well insulated, totally fine. That is until Devin wanted to call him out for a chance at a gold skull. Now mind you, in episode 0, we heard Devin tell Lolo that Darrell is a great physical player, but was not good at puzzles.
Darrell, massive physical competitor, not so good at puzzles.
So this moment of Darrell winning against Devin in a tangerine puzzle is so satisfying.
I'm not stupid. I'm good at tangerine puzzles.
What really lost it for Darrell in this season is timing. Because late in the game, Kyle won a daily challenge with Anissa, giving him immunity. And Corey wanted his skull. But there was limited options on the table, and Darrell was the only person he cared to face. It was a sprinting competition that the younger, quicker Corey had a leg up on Darrell. I think this was the first real time we saw Darrell get to play his normal game with no gimmicks, no purges, and not too funky of a format in quite some time. And he made a deep run, got his gold skull, was primed for the final. It's just that he was a step behind in this particular elimination game. Darrell would step aside from the flagship for a little bit to pursue another endeavor. OG Darrell was back, and he played a beautiful game of competing well and having an equally good social game. On this season, he made it to the final, a final on a credible season of the challenge in the eyes of the fans. Looking at the lineup of the finalists, Darrell was the favorite, especially once Derek was purged on the first stage. Unfortunately, someone played Darrell's game better than Darrell. I'm speaking about Yes. Yes, I think was unassuming on the season, played so under the radar, as well as no one had seen Yes play since season 6. Yet here he was on the final climb, surpassing Darrell to lock in the title of All-Stars solo champion. This was the first final Darrell ever lost in his The Challenge career. Although I'm sure this is heartbreaking, the next All-Star season would be worse, at least in my opinion. Alright, so look, I could go into all these details, but this season boils down to the ineptitude of the production crew missing the final step on those boards. It's unfortunate because All-Stars 2 is a great season until you get to the final. Darrell had some great performances with winning challenges, being immune, winning an elimination, having a great alliance, performing well in the final, but being royally screwed by something out of your control is an awful feeling. It's a tough pill to swallow because you can't reflect on a performance and be like, what could I have done better? Maybe they should have asked for production's help and they would have gotten the green light to run to the jet and then get a car ride back to your boards. Well, then they told you what the fourth step was. Then you could have opened your chest and then won it. It's sad because this was another really solid opportunity for Darrell to get his 5th The Challenge Championship. And it just didn't happen. In All-Stars 3, we saw something we had really never seen before, and that was fear getting the best of Darrell. Now, it is widely known that Darrell is afraid of heights, but that never really was a factor throughout his entire challenge career. Darrell always conquered it for the competition, but All-Stars 3 was different. Darrell opted out of the high-stakes daily challenge, completely okayed to take last place, where he was sent directly into that week's elimination. Then Episode 4's The Authority took this as a chance to send 2 multi-time champions against one another. In normal situations, any weight-based elimination would favor the heavier player, and in this case that would be Darrell. However, competing against Jordan is anything but normal. Darrell took an early lead, but Jordan used a strategy to suspend himself in the tube, distributing his weight to hold everything at a standstill. Darrell was about a foot, maybe 2 feet away from winning, but after an hour in the tube, Darrell's legs and back went numb. He eventually left the tube and was taken to get checked out by the medical staff. Darrell faced off against another challenge great and gave it his all until his body just shut down on him. I truly think this comes down to the heights of it all. If Darrell competes, I don't think he gets last place, and the Authority doesn't make that big of a swing that early on. Now, Darrell has benefited from a consistent social game, but that wasn't the case in Season 38. Darrell and Veronica were the last pair to enter the game late, which put them behind the 8 ball. There was also a get old champs out sentiment reverberating through the house. That plan took full effect in Episode 7 when Nerissa and Nelson nominated 4 teams with champions on them. Darrell and Veronica got the short end when Bananas and Nani chose to save Anissa and Jordan over them. Anissa's connection with Nani was way stronger compared to whatever friendship the pair had with either Darrell or Veronica. Deep Web was very winnable for Darrell and Veronica, but it featured one of the challenge's hardest puzzles that ended up stumping them, and Amber and Chauncey won. The duo made it a third of the way through the game, and I think they should be proud of that. It was going to be an uphill battle for them to make it any farther and even be in contention for running a final. After a string of disappointing seasons, I'd say Darrell came into the World Championship ready for redemption. He was paired up with an incredible partner, Kiki. They were very dynamic, winning a daily challenge. However, the two had their struggles late, getting last place in back-to-back episodes. They won against Tristan, Kellyanne in Hands Off, but ran into a brick wall in Breakthrough against Troy and Casey. This came down to the math. Darrell and Kiki struggled so hard that they couldn't undo the lock to even get a chance of winning. It's sad because the pair lost with only 1 challenge and 1 more elimination before the final. And I think if they make the final, they actually had a decent chance of getting the win. There were a lot of factors against Darrell in Battle of the Eras. First of which, Era 1 was a sinking ship. They were either getting last place or chosen for eliminations week in and week out. So even with them not getting last place in Episode 7, what was the incentive for saving them in the decision? Why make another team mad by sending them in instead of a team that will never get power? On top of that, Darrell was dealing with an injured back from his early elimination with Tony, as well as his awkward fall in the trivia challenge. Darrell faced off against the human calculator Kyland in Boxster-phobia. Darrell was moving quickly. He got out of the enclosure first, but wanted to double check his math before trying the lock. This hesitation kept the door open and gave enough time for Kyland to full send his combination. Darrell was eliminated. And to be honest, I don't know how long Darrell lasts throughout the rest of this season. Like, even with the game changing to a solo format, you can't tell me that Darrell's name wasn't going to be popping up over and over and over again. Especially given the alliances shaped on that season as well as the friendships that were on that season. So to me, even winning in episode 7, Darrell was going to have to fight, claw, and scratch his way further and further into that season in just hopes of making the final. In Battle of the Eras, Darrell mentioned wanting to get his 5th win to secure himself as one of the best to have ever played the challenge.
Celebrating that 5th win and solidifying my name to being one of the greatest challengers to ever play this game.
I personally would love to see Darrell get another win, but I think his goal of being one of the best has already been achieved. He's 4th all-time in wins and is an OG that helped usher the challenge into what it is today. Darrell's contributions and who he's been on the challenge for over 23 years is what solidifies him as one of the best, even if that 5th win continues to be elusive. Thank you so much to everyone who is watching this video. I now want to turn it over to you. What do you think about Darrell? Do you feel like he has a chance of getting another challenge win to get his 5th? As well as looking back over his challenge career, which season do you think he had the best opportunity to get that win? I think the two that stands out to me is the Runes and All-Stars 2 and All-Stars 1. So those 3 opportunities I think were some of his best chances of getting the win. But what is your opinion? Let me know down in the comment section below. I now want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.